Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Newsflash, you can lose weight like a celebrity without being a celebrity. New Glucotrim from GNC delivers serious results with a proven formula that features ingredients derived from nature, like berberine. And the best part? You don't need a crazy expensive prescription. Glucotrim works with your body to support healthy blood sugar and protect lean muscle mass, unlike other products out there. And did I mention it's caffeine-free? So if you want real results, get on that celebrity weight loss level with new Glucotrim. Get it at GNC.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/qualify today.
So just a short and sweet banter for this episode today, guys.
They don't care. They fast forward through this part anyway.
My name's Quincy.
My name's Kevin.
And this is Sentimental Men.
But keep your thumb away from that skip button.
We're here to talk.
And maybe scream.
About our favorite women in musical theater. Oh, we actually don't have that much time. Kevin, I would love for you to introduce this guest just because I feel like you have I don't know, there's been a very special energy that you've been giving off towards this.
I'm going to take you back to 1996. Quincy wasn't alive and I was 5. There was a show on television called Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Now, you might be thinking about the sexy Riverdale Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You are incorrect. On that show, the token mean girl was, of course, my favorite because, of course, as a young gay even, I was like, she's funny, she's catty, she's brunette. I'm going to be into this one. That's all I'm going to give for introduction. Today we're talking to Jenna Leigh Green, which, as Quincy said, I have been so excited about because I have really gone on a witch journey with her.
Yeah, I feel like you're thinking that I didn't watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I definitely did. I'm sure I was watching it like reruns, but I definitely watched it as a child.
It was 1996 to 1999.
Yeah, I wasn't watching the new weekly episodes, but I feel like I've watched a majority of the episodes just because it was probably on ABC Family when I was a kid, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you've never taken in the culture. But she also was an icon in the angsty Spring Awakening teenage community because she was in the LA workshop and production of Bear, which was the cult show that you were into when you were an angsty high school drama kid, at my age. Mm-hmm. So I'm...
Especially being a young gay too, wow. She also did the wasn't there a short-lived off-Broadway production of Bear?
There was, yeah.
Okay. And she did that and she's on the cast recording.
She is on the cast recording, yeah.
When we were talking about this Wicked Witch of the East episode, we were like, we have to have Jenna Leigh Green because she's one of the only who has the insight to offer, having both played Nessa Rose and Elphaba.
Yeah. She has the range, honey.
She has the range.
She has the range.
But also I feel like most Nessa Roses, I don't know if most Nessa Roses could do Elphaba or most Elphabas could do Nessa Rose.
Like a square and a rectangle.
I think the way it goes is most Elphabas could do Nessa Rose, I think.
Oh yeah, easy. And since, I was looking at her IMDb earlier in the week, and she's busy. Her and Emma Hutton, busy. TV.
Her and Emma Hutton.
TV. She is on all these good shows, so...
I'm so excited.
Me too.
Gonna be great.
It's going to be great.
Before we get into it...
Wait, I have a good story. Do I have time for a story? Yeah, I have time. Wait, so I have a fun connection to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. The establishing shot for Sabrina's house was the house next to a house that my mom worked in when I was that age. And so there was a different, there was one where it was raining, one where it was snowing, one where it was nighttime. And in one of them, I think it was the one where it was raining, you could see my mom's car pulling out of the driveway next to Sabrina's house. And so anytime it was raining on the show, it'd be ooh, it's Mom.
Is she getting royalties for that?
I doubt it. can I give you a little stuck on SJB?
Yes, please.
I have an exciting one today, Quincy.
For context, Kevin hyped this up a little bit in text. He wouldn't tell me what it was about, but he told me to get ready.
Well, okay, so I couldn't tell you what it was about because today, for Stuck on SJB, we're going to do Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh.
Waitress style, I'm going to need you to pick door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3.
I'm going to do door number 3 in waitress fashion.
I knew you were going to, and that's why I put it third on the list, because it's a really good one. Okay, so this is a video of Stephanie J. Block in 2004 singing Never Neverland, Fly Away. So this video is from like kind of the start of her career. Like she was in The Boy from Oz at this point, so that she was like shiny new thing in the New York scene, paired with Scott Allen, also like shiny new in the New York scene. And there's this really great story in the description of the video about how she was going to sing this song at the Joe's Pub concert, but she sang a different song and he was like crushed and he didn't know that she was going to like sing this as an encore. So then this song closed the show and that like it like launched his career. So I got a little misty when I was watching this because it really made me miss like going to things, because like when she gets up, when she like gets up to sing the song, like somebody in the audience is like, yes, Steph, get it. And I'm like, I miss like that goofy.
You're like, that would have been me.
Yeah, like that would have been us in the back. So it's just like great. The song it goes without saying that she sounds impeccable on the song. We all know it.
Yeah.
But I just love this like moment in history where it was like the start of her journey, the start of his journey. She sounds incredible. What I love about it is that it's kind of like her own little song about flying, like based in the reality of like a story we all know. So like pre-Wicked, it was like nice for her to have this, you know what I mean, to do at concerts.
I actually don't think I've seen that video. If it's from 2004, I don't.
It's like the very first time I think this song was done in public, and it's very different than not very different, but it's a little like gospelier than like the version we're used to now.
You know what version of that song I'm used to is
the Carrie Ellis one.
Carrie Ellis,
yeah, it's great. Yeah, because Steph has the one on Scott's CD, and then I think she has a different version on her CD. But then
that's right.
Carrie does it on like a different Scott CD.
And Stephanie also does Watch Me Soar on a different Scott CD.
But I think what's a fun little like button to this story is that in this description of the video that I was reading, Scott Allen credits this performance of Stephanie J. Block and the previous performance of Home by Shoshana Bean as like the launching pad of his career.
I mean, Scott Allen loves a belting woman. I will say that.
Loves.
What does Casey Levy sing on a Scott Allen song?
Oh, she sings, I don't remember.
Kiss the Air?
Kiss the Air. Kiss the Air.
I love that this turned into Scott Allen Corner.
Jenna Leigh Green.
Hello.
Welcome to Sentimental Men.
Oh, I love the title.
Thank you.
Obviously, I know what that's in reference to.
But yeah, so when we were planning out like who we wanted for each episode, we were like, we have to have Jenna Leigh Green for the Wicked Witch of the East episode because you are in the very unique position to have played both Elphaba and
Yeah. I feel like there's a couple of us, I think.
We were saying, because we know like Eden did it and Shoshana.
You know, things changed a lot. Like they don't do things the same way. Honestly, after me, they kind of didn't do things the same way. Because we didn't have a standby the first year on tour, that's why I did Nessa Rose and then covered Elphaba. Because they were like, oh, we don't need to have a standby. Let's try this out. And then they were like,
yeah,
maybe not a good idea. But originally, there used to be, for us on tour, there were 2 Elphaba covers. So one of them
was Pink Beret.
On the tour, First National, originally, Pink Beret was Emily Rosick, who was our fantastic Glinda cover.
Oh,
Pink Beret.
Glinda. Oh. Okay.
And Pink Beret, and I think, no, Katie had a hat, so I can't remember. But ours were the horns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maria and me.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, I want to dive into the tour stuff, but before we get into that, we start every episode by asking, when did Wicked the musical enter your life? So not necessarily as a performer, but what is your first touch point with the musical?
So I first moved to New York in January of 2004 to do a show called Bear, which I had done in Los Angeles.
Oh, we know Bear.
Okay.
I love how you just introduced that as if we wouldn't know what it was, Jenna.
So I moved to New York to do that. And so I'm trying to think, it was Wicked, that was Wicked's first year on Broadway. So Wicked was
pre-Tony
like
and
the
everything.
big thing. The big thing.
Yeah, so you had been like hearing about it.
Oh, sure. I think I even went to their Tony party, and then it was like a weird thing because everybody thought that they would and maybe should have won.
Yeah.
But I remember Michael Arden and I were together at the party.
Oh my God.
We still had a great time. Like we were two kids in New York City, just being like, "Woo, we're at a Tony party. This is amazing."
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to think, I want to say that the first time I actually saw the show was when, I didn't have time. I mean, I moved to New York and immediately went into rehearsals in an 8-show-a-week schedule.
Oh, that's right. You were performing.
So there was no real way for me. I probably could have seen the show because we had this strange layoff after Bear closed off Broadway, so quickly. The only reason it closed was because we were supposed to make this big transfer to a bigger.
It was supposed to go to New World, right?
Yeah, it was Dodger Stages was what it was called at the time, and we were going to be kind of the inaugural show there. And then everything happened with them, and they kind of lost a backer, and they went dark for a while. So our show was pretty much the casualty. It took them a little while to get back on their feet, and of course now they have so many shows since then. But Bear was the casualty. So in the interim, we were kind of on hold. So I was just kind of young and playing around in New York City for the summer. And so I don't think I ever saw the show, but it was new. So I knew I was going to, and I had, of course, already memorized the soundtrack. And then I went to see the show when I was auditioning for it. And all of my auditions were for Elphaba. So many people came and saw Bear because it had this...
It was such a moment.
Yeah, it had this momentum and a lot of people were coming. So, but I know that Stephen Remus had seen it a few times. So I'm sure that helped in so much as all of a sudden the news becomes clear that Bear is not going to reopen. And then you've got this everyone in the cast, this insanely talented young cast of people who are all suddenly free. So, everyone started auditioning for things. Me, I was kind of terrified because I had moved to New York to do Bear. So I'm like, oh my God, I've just moved my entire life to New York to do this show that opened and closed in what felt like a heartbeat.
And at that point, it must feel like it's your everything.
Oh, sure. I mean, I had spent years of my life already at that point working on Bear, creating it from almost day one. But anyways, you figure out what to do. And now I have a lease and I'm living in New York. So you just start auditioning. And Wicked was honestly one of the first auditions I had.
Was it on your radar as a role you wanted to play at that point?
Sure. But here's the thing. And I'm not saying this to be self-deprecating in any way. I've always sung. I will not call myself a singer. But I've always...
You're a capital singer, though.
Thank you. But I've always considered myself an actress who can sing. There are voices in New York that sing circles around me. But what I've always prided myself on is I will tell you a story. And then if you like the way I sound with that, great.
I love that.
So I definitely was like, oh my God, Elphaba. But I kind of had this gusto, I guess you could say, that now I go on auditions and I'm shaking and I'm nervous and I have this stage fright that developed, which then I didn't really have. I just was like, great. And I loved singing the songs and doing, all of these, and the packet was pretty thick. I mean, it was a lot of material, but the only song in the Elphaba packet that is the full song is I'm Not That Girl, which says so much to me. I'm Not That Girl is such a small, and if you can draw them in and get everyone's attention and have them just be so enthralled and invested in what it is that you're saying with such a simple song, I love that is the only full song in the packet. So I went in and it went well, and I knew I had a callback. And
did you know you were going in for the tour, or was it just a kind of general
knew it was
audition?
for the tour. I knew it was. And honestly, at that point, I kind of, touring wasn't something that I thought I wanted to do because, you know, I had this strong television background, and then I had, you know, been working on Bear, but in Los Angeles, that's just kind of like a fun thing to do. You're certainly not making any money doing it.
Right.
Not that we made any money off Broadway. But, you know, I was still doing regular guest spots and television gigs. So the thought of just literally being on the road for a year and not being in Los Angeles or New York was somewhat daunting, but it was wicked. It was the biggest thing. And when you're a kid and you dream of being in a Broadway show, like that's the pinnacle. That's it.
And was it tour lead, tour cover? Like, was that specific when you were auditioning?
No, the initial auditions were for Elphaba herself, not to cover,
For
just
lead.
for Elphaba. And I, you know, in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not very tall. And I imagined her being so much taller, and, you know, I looked really young. And I'm like, well, she's supposed to be, you know, all these things I was like, I don't know, but this is so exciting. So my roommate at the time was, well, he's a manager, an amazing, fantastic manager. But at the time he was a casting director, Jeff Soffer. And so he kind of coached me, and we worked on this material like over and over and over, and just like really got into it. So I went in and I auditioned, and I had a callback. I want to say I had a couple of callbacks. There's definitely a few callbacks. And then everything was just so strange and quick. We got a call saying that they were pretty sure they knew what they were going to do with the role of Elphaba, but they wanted to know if I might consider coming back in for them for the role of Nessa.
And what was the initial thought when that news was given?
Here's the thing. I wasn't at all. I was loving the experience, but I don't think I ever had that moment where I was like, I'm going to get Elphaba. I'm going to get that role. Like, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, I have another callback? Wow. Okay, cool. You know, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, let's go back again. And I was loving, you know, getting to listen to the things that Joe Mantello had to say and Stephen Schwartz had to say, and getting direction from them and all of that. So I was just enjoying the whole experience. I don't think I ever was like, I'm going to get this part. But I was just going with the flow. So when they said that, the obvious answer kind of was just yes. Like at that point I was invested in the process and I was invested in the project. And I thought that Nessa was, at this point I had seen the show. I was like, sure. And I loved, like I said before, that it was this beautiful acting role, who had to sing for sure. But I don't know. I just was immediately said yes. And then I went in a day later, I think. It was real quick. And they gave me the Governor's Mansion scene and her small bit of a song. And all I remember is going in, and they put a chair in the middle of the room. And so I sat in the chair and I did the scene. And like, I mean, it's so quick. It's, you know, the scene's what, a minute or two long. It's not that long, the scene.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I felt really good about that. All right, great. And then, I mean, it was pretty quick. Within an hour or two, I think.
And then we go to tour, and we open the tour. What is it like to originate a role on tour? Because I've always wondered, because it's like, yes, the roles have been done, but then I always feel like the talk of the people who open the tours is like, it is like a new opportunity to kind of set things fresh and do things a little bit differently. So can you speak to any of that?
You weren't pulling people from lots of different companies who had done it before, who all had their, you know, we were all learning together. So it was almost as if we were truly creating the show all over again in our own bubble, because we weren't there when it was being done in New York or in San Francisco, and we weren't put into that show. So, you know, very rarely do you get the chance to originate something, whereas you're not just quickly being put into an existing company. So we all, you know, but there were slight differences everywhere. There were tiny differences in staging. There were tiny differences in costumes. There was, you know, I think we had 2 or 3 less people than the Broadway company. So slight things were changed there.
Okay, so we have a DM from a listener who told us that you actually did the first preview of the tour. Is that true?
What he's referring to is, I don't know how many people know or don't know or whatever, but we had an injury. Stephanie was injured by something that was going to be in the show that never, they cut it immediately. It never ended up happening.
So did you ever see that like flying effect in rehearsal or anything? The wires?
I did it.
You did it?
I did it right before Stephanie did it.
Can you talk about what it was like?
We'd been doing it for a while. Stephanie did it a few times, and then myself and Maria, who was the other cover, we did it as well. And then Stephanie was just doing it again when it happened.
And what was it?
So basically in the Broadway company, in the Broadway production, in No Good Deed, she rises from below the stage. So the original design for the top of that number was Elphaba flew in from the wings. And it wasn't like she's flying. It was just kind of I'm trying to show my hand here. She was up at stage right wings, and she just kind of and comes
like
to
Mary
the middle.
Poppins-esque?
It kind of, yeah. She just the wires were, you wore a harness, and it was 2 wires from the back, and you just kind of slowly came in, got to the book, and it was staged where the monkeys kind of danced around her a little bit and unhooked the wires. So it was a very simple effect.
Did you have a broom?
No
She
broom.
was just levitating? I love that.
It's so hard to remember because it was literally cut before we started the show. But
Right.
Yeah.
But no, she didn't have the broom. No, because she doesn't have it for the number.
No.
There was just a malfunction, and I mean, it was a completely freak thing. But we had to cancel the first preview, I believe, and they actually flew Christy Cates from New York, who was the on-stage understudy.
Right.
They flew her to Toronto because at this point, we're trying to open a show. The understudies hadn't been rehearsed. There wasn't anything to be done. So they brought Christy from New York, and she was so amazing. She literally, with probably an hour's notice, got on a plane, came to Toronto, and she did the first week. So they kind of, I think, pushed the opening night a little bit. And then a couple of hours before our opening night performance, I got a call from our company manager. And she was like, "Hi, Jenna, I just want to, say, I hope you have a great opening night, have so much fun out there tonight. This is a Tuesday, I believe." She said, "FYI, I just want to let you know that you're going to go on as Elphaba on Friday."
She started with, "Hope you have a great opening night tonight."
She wanted to wish, give me the congratulations and not just start the conversation with, "Hi, so we have some news."
And you hadn't rehearsed at all prior to this?
Not
you hadn't had to put in
second.
Or anything?
No, I had never even sang. I hadn't sang a song since the auditions.
Wait, how did you do that then?
No idea. I kind of was in shock. I was like, "Are you guys sure? Wait, I haven't rehearsed." And they're like, "We know, but an executive decision has been made. This is what's going to happen. We can't keep Christy here. We've got to send her back to New York." Because Christy and Stephanie was doing, she was slowly working back up to full steam ahead. And so they kept Christy for half the week. So they would do 4 and 4. I was on stage with anyone once for a put-in the day before. And I sang through the score in a rehearsal room. And they brought Kendra in and Derek in for 20 minutes. So that I could at least sing.
But orchestra, never?
Never.
Oh my God, Jenna.
I had the very first no-fly show. So on my first performance, the Levitator did
Your first performance?
My first performance.
So that day that they were like, "You're going on, you haven't rehearsed," that was your no-fly show? Wait, this is horrible.
So I thought, course, I thought I had done something wrong because it's very complicated. You've got all this stuff in a bag and a broom and a cake and a this and a that, and you got to run into it. And if anything is blocking it for safety measures, if it doesn't close completely around you, it won't move. So it moved forward, but it never went up.
But was there a protocol at this point? Because now there's a plan B.
No protocol. One by one at the end of the show, when cast members realized that I was still just standing there on the ground singing for Jesus, one by one, everyone just started lowering their bodies to the ground and laying on the ground with their hands up in the air.
So you are the protocol. Like, you are the reason why the plan B is the plan B. Because that's what they do now.
Yeah, they open it up and she runs out to the foot of the stage and they change the lighting and make it look like she's just floating, kind of. Yeah, but
and everyone lies down.
It never even occurred. There was no thought that it wouldn't work. It had never not worked before.
Have you gone to therapy for this? I feel like this is so traumatic.
So maybe that's what he's referring to. I had the very first no-fly show, but I didn't go on the first preview. But I did go on with no rehearsal, pretty much no rehearsal. And I started. I had a false start on The Wizard and I because I'd never heard the orchestra, and I was so nervous. There were definitely like line flubs, there were lyric flubs. I was just trying to get.
I was gonna say, how did the performance go?
I don't even remember.
Besides the no-fly.
It. I mean, all considering, I'd like to think they thought I did a really kick-ass job, but.
Who can hold you accountable for anything?
Right.
For a good amount of time, I kind of did like 4 shows a week. And then as Stephanie got stronger and stronger and was like back to her kick-ass self. Wardrobe-wise and the way that it made the most sense, we would kind of do weekends. So if I had one weekend, the other girl would have to do the other weekend once we started rotating. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy experience. It's probably why I've never toured since, because nothing's going to top that.
But also like an abnormal, I feel like, touring experience. Yeah. Like you really jumped in 2 feet.
So I have a question that we ask every guest, and it's usually a 1-part question, but I think for you it's going to be a 2-part question. So Quincy and I believe that every alphabet is most at home in one of the 3 big numbers. And my second part of the question is, do you think that your being drawn to I'm Not That Girl is tied to like this kind of Ness Rose energy that you maybe gave off that they were like, oh, maybe that plug-in can work?
Possibly, because I remember when I was auditioning for the show, Joe Mantello, the most notes I actually got were on I'm Not That Girl. He broke me down a little bit because I think that there is something about me that sometimes can be I'm just a little pulled together. And there's an awkwardness to Elphaba that is just
clunky.
Yeah, it's like she needs to be vulnerable, but she's not. Gosh, I wish I could remember that. It's probably the word's gonna pop into my head in like 10 minutes, but
we'll take it.
And then I'll be like emailing, it's this word. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So I think that he probably saw pieces of Nessa, but as far as I'm so long-winded.
Yeah, to satisfy the game, let's go to the big 3.
I'll be honest with you, the song, even though I was dying, and sometimes I was like, how am I going to get through this? I just don't know. The song that I had the most fun doing, No Good Deed.
Okay.
It's a really crazy song, and there's so many words, and there's gibberish words, and there's, all of this stuff. But, oh God, I love just like being in it, and then you get there, and it's so soft and so sweet, and this moment in the center of it where she's calling for everyone, and then boom. Nothing gave me the rush like that one.
Got it. So after you had been doing Nessa for a while, and you went, so we did tour, we did Broadway, and then we did LA, right?
Back to back.
Tour to Broadway, were you like on the Nessa train, or was there ever like, oh, maybe I want to do Elphaba, maybe I want to stand by for Elphaba?
Well, you know what? Let's just lay it on the line here. There's no like, no, I'd rather do this. It was you take what they offer you.
Okay.
I never played Elphaba again. They it didn't. They changed the way things were. They never had a Nessa that was the Elphaba cover again. The tour got a standby. Probably a few months before I left the tour, I had gotten the offer to go into the New York company. So I knew I was gonna. I only had 3 days off.
My God.
A couple of cities before I closed, Stephanie and I finished on the same day in Philly and or Pittsburgh. Sorry, Pittsburgh. I went into New York to look at a couple apartments. Because I knew that we had our final show on I guess a Sunday matinee. Sunday matinee. Yeah. Had a cast party, had a goodbye party, and then I on a plane back to New York the next day. And I want to say Wednesday, I did a follow in the New York company. I followed her backstage. And or I think I had a rehearsal in the daytime because there were differences in the show. Had a one rehearsal in the daytime, followed her backstage through the show, and then I was on the next day. So it was super fast. I didn't have a vacation or anything.
And how was that? Because we talked to Alphabets who have gotten contract right into another contract, and they are always like, I wish I took time between the two. Like, I wish I didn't jump right into it.
Well, for me, it was just that's when they needed Anessa. So if I didn't accept the offer, then I would just have to wait. And contracts were 9 months to a year. So it was like, go back to New York and don't have a job, or go back to New York and do Wicked on Broadway. Right. So I did. And then again, the same thing happened when they were building the Los Angeles company. Of course, I'm sure that they knew I was from LA. I'm sure they knew that would be something I would be interested
was that an offer?
in. Yes.
Got it.
So I'm sure my energy made it clear that I really wanted to do it, but I kind of, and what's funny is I can't remember who it was, but I remember being out somewhere. So it was either after a show one night and we went for, food or drink or something. And I ran into someone like at Ariba or something like that. And then being like, so LA, huh? And I was like, what do you know? Really?
You're telling me.
But I feel like it was someone that I knew
would know.
If there was anyone that was going to be in the know, it would be that person.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who exactly it was, but that's when I was like, I feel like I called my agent the next day and was like, can we find out if they're interested in me for LA? Because I haven't wanted to like ask them. Because it was a little bit early. You know what I mean?
You were still in the Broadway production, right?
I was still in the New York production.
Got it.
So it was a little bit early for me to be fishing.
Yeah,
but then when it was kind of brought up to me, I was like, can we find out if this is if this is something? And so then of course, very shortly they were like, yeah, they want you to open LA. So I did actually, I got them to let me out of my New York contract a week early so that I could take a vacation.
Yeah, gotta.
Because at that point,
because the rehearsals for LA started like right when my contract ended. It was like a week later rehearsal started.
And that's not that's a whole full rehearsal at that point. It's not like you're just going into another put-in situation. You are rehearsing the show.
A full 6-week rehearsal period. We were in New York for 4 weeks and then went to LA and teched the show and everything.
And who opened LA?
And,
Eden opened LA?
Eden and Megan Kilty. So yeah, but it's so funny because you talk to people now who, they're like, oh, I was in Wicked for 5 years. I was in Wicked for 7, whatever. And, so to me, it felt like I was in it for such a long time, but it's because I was able to do it so many places. But it was just under 3 years.
And do it in so many places in such like you opened the tour, you opened LA and you went to Broadway,
Yes.
Such iconic like places to do it.
Yeah.
So you kind of talked about it earlier, how Elphaba and Nessa Rose are different in ways and similar in ways. Having played both, did that inform, I would say more so for Nessa Rose, did having played Elphaba inform your Nessa Rose at all in performance?
I don't think that like being in Nessa's shoes changed how I thought of myself when I was Elphaba or vice versa. They were such wildly different beasts to me. It's hard because I feel like Nessa is really underrated by a lot of people. It's kind of a role that people just kind of, oh yeah, Nessa. And it's because a lot of the people who are so, musical theater enthusiasts who are so, yes, this, because Nessa doesn't sing that much, it's like, meh, Nessa.
Right. Well, because Wicked Witch of the East isn't on the cast recording. I believe if it was on the cast recording, we'd have like Nessa stands. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be done in cabarets. Musical theater students would be performing that song,
Such a shame.
I feel like, I think that they said the reason why it wasn't there. Well, first of all, it's because it is such a short. In order to make it a full song, I think that they would have needed to include Elphaba's chant and a little bit of dialogue, and it gave away too much. Like, they needed to keep that moment a surprise, because people who haven't seen Wicked don't know what happens to Bach.
Right. Sure.
I'm still not giving it away. So
17 years
I think
later.
that they thought that there was no exactly. I think they thought that there was no way to include that without giving away, you know, a secret.
It's a tragedy that it's not on the cast recording, though.
Agreed. But it breaks my heart a little bit when I hear people just kind of, oh yeah, Nessa, but Alpha. I'm like.
And we were talking before this interview where it's like, we don't necessarily see Nessa as much as an Elphaba or Glinda, but she does have quite the arc in the context of the show, where we see her at like major points where she starts as this like shy, kind of unsure girl, and then grows into this brazen, good or bad woman, and then dies.
Depending on who you see as Nessa Rose and what their interpretation is and what the journey that they decide to take, watching Nessa Rose during the entire scene, the entire number of Dancing Through Life. Because she's in the whole thing. Is she dancing? No, but yes, she's dancing with her chair. Everything, she makes there is so much that's choreographed with her chair, and the way that she comes up to people and then goes back to people and tries to join this group, but then kind of gets back a little bit because maybe she shouldn't be there. And the way that she, at least that was my journey, the way that she watched everything that was happening during this entire number and wanted so badly to be a part of it, long before Glinda gets Bach to invite her to the dance. Like when everyone's in the schoolyard, like that was one of my favorite sections of the show. And literally until she rolls out and is like, I got invited, nobody pays attention to her, but you should pay attention to her, because if the actress is in it, which I hope everyone is, there's a whole story going on there. I just think that she's such a it's a really great role. It's a really great role. It's a great role for an actress who sings, you know, because you don't have to sing like an Elphaba to play this amazing role in a kick-ass show. You know, there's a role for you. And that doesn't happen very often in musicals. Like if you, and not to say that they've ever cast a Nessa Rose who isn't a brilliant singer. Yeah. I've always been, I'm that person who goes to see a show and I'm constantly watching everything. I'm watching the ensemble members. I'm watching what people are doing when they're not the one talking. And that's what a lot of Nessa's show is, how she reacts to everything around her.
That's interesting.
And I love that.
Jenna, this has been so much fun. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Jenna Leigh Green and on Twitter at Real Jenna L. Green. Because Jenna Leigh Green was taken.
Oh, really?
Well, whoever she is, we'll be sending a cease and desist immediately. Quincy, you must be so proud of me. I didn't bring up Sabrina the Teenage Witch not once. Not once,
Which I
Quincy.
feel like it's almost like I love the fact that we were able to have a whole conversation with her without bringing up Sabrina.
Oh, sure. I didn't think we were going to be lacking conversation.
Which, can you believe she was like, oh, I was in this show called Bear. And we were like...
Ms. Leigh Green, trust and believe.
How was that for you, Kevin? How are you feeling after...
Quincy, I gotta say, it was great for me. And on a personal level, I'm glad that I contained my fangirl as well as I did.
Big takeaway for me was, if you're listening to this podcast, you most likely know the story of SJB getting injured, but I never knew the specifics of it and what exactly that entrance entailed and whatnot. So to have Jenna just kind of spell that out for us, I feel really filled in a gap in my Wicked history knowledge.
Yeah, so that's there's so much history wrapped up in that, but then it's also the origin of the no-fly.
That, Kevin. We talked about the No Good Deed mishap, but the fact that she is the reason why the Plan B is the Plan B.
Yes, what she just kind of made up on the spot is now the no-fly.
And what those ensemble members, let's give them credit too.
Shout out to the ensemblists who are you know what? We're just gonna crouch down.
Which, like, I'm gonna say, Kevin, you would be leading that charge had you been in the ensemble of that tour. Like, that feels a very on-brand thing for Kevin to do in that situation. Like, we need to make this believable and just start lying down.
What she remembers as probably like, you know, like the cherry on top of this crazy week is like, from our point of view, we're like, you better have had that no-fly show, bitch. Like, it's like, you know, yet another reminder that like what we are obsessing over is these people going to work. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. I also love that we got to kind of have a moment for Nessa Rose in our arc of this whole podcast. I feel like we haven't really discussed her much.
She is the unsung third witch, and I mean that literally because she's not on the cast recording. The unsung witch.
That was clever.
Thank you so much. But yeah, it's true because like Nessa also, and I think it's easy to overlook this, like she was saying, like yeah Nessa, but like we also watched Nessa go from this like shy, weird young girl and grow into a villain that we already know about. You know what I mean? Like we see her, the tights and the heels. It's like, oh, we watched that. We watched that transformation happen.
Yeah. See, but I viscerally remember like probably like my first time watching a bootleg proper of Wicked, having just listened to the cast recording. When she sings Just Her and Me, the Wicked Witch of the East, I remember being shook.
Wig snatched.
And I was like, this is brilliant! Kevin.
Oh God, it's happening.
I think it's time.
For
Kevin's Glinda Corner! Woo! I hate that is what the theme has become. I wanted like a cute jingle. I wanted like a nice little like rhyme. And then it just became me shouting into the microphone. Sorry, I just had to get that out.
Okay, so you and I are currently in a fight because we posted a disagreement we had about Defying Gravity on our social. And Instagram is siding with me, and TikTok apparently is siding with you.
Can I ask where we have more of a following, though?
Quincy.
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, it's TikTok.
I'm just saying. Okay, no, continue. Actually.
Well, anyway, so
I don't want to do this again.
I can't get through one Glinda's corner. But you and the rest of the Alpha Gals will be happy to know, you like that? Will be happy to know that I am going to dip my toe into the Glinda's a shitty person pool.
Only now?
Only now, because I think the use her sister moment is so shitty. Like,
you're right.
It's so, like...
It's fucked up.
It's so fucked up. And it's like, it always gets a little bit of like a, ooh, like, it's so...
Wait, Glinda is the reason that Nessa Rose is dead?
Now I'm back defending her. Glinda says, start a rumor about her. And Madame Marble says, you know what would be better? Assassination.
A change in the weather.
A change in the weather.
Wait, that scene gets dark.
Another successful one in the books. I feel like this was a good episode, and I know because we did it, we already finished it, that next week is also a really good episode. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you're not telling your friends to listen to us, tell your friends to listen to us.
Leave us a rating and review, please. Kevin, I will talk to you in 5 minutes.
Bye, Quincy. Good episode. You've been listening to Sentimental Men.
This episode was produced, edited, and hosted by Quincy Brown and Kevin Bianchi.
Thanks to Julia DiMarzo for our thrillifying artwork.
And thanks to you for tuning in. You can reach us at sentimentalmenpod@gmail.com.
Or on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SentMenPod. That's SentMenPod.
Till next time, I'm Quincy.
And I'm Kevin.
And I never really feel like there's a ton of roles where you feel like the guy's like, oh
Super
God.
strainy.
But girls, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, look who's composing them.
Disney's Aladdin on Broadway is among the longest-running shows in Broadway history. But did you know that it almost never came to be?
We walked out of Seattle thinking, okay, we don't have it. We have a lot of work to do.
But against tremendous odds, in March of 2024, they celebrated 10 years on Broadway.
Disney did a great job because they really took the notes.
Go behind the magic and listen to this never-before-heard story, the magical making of Disney's Aladdin on Broadway. Available everywhere you can get your podcasts.
Hi, Charlie Puth here. As a writer and producer, I need to get my ideas down. With Bic's 4-color pen, I can. It's the perfect pen to help me express myself. So I'm excited to partner with Bic this back-to-school season to celebrate creativity and to give you a chance to meet me and see my creative process at an October 22nd event in New York. So visit bicforcolorvip.com to learn how you could win. And remember, the more Bic products you buy, the greater your chances to win.